I married the man I deeply love, and finally we became a married couple that I've always dreamt of. And to top it all, we're even holding a wedding ceremony that I've always dreamt of. Being blessed by so many people and being able to marry the one I love. I was sure my parents in heaven would also be happy. That's what I thought. But I had no idea about the tragedy that was awaiting me. I will never forgive them for ruining everything. I am going to get back at them. My name is Mary. I got proposed to by Thomas, my boyfriend who's 2 years older, and got married at the age of 27. I lost my father when I was very young, and my mother passed away due to illness 2 years ago. Thomas was the one who supported me both physically and emotionally when I was at my lowest. We got married on the anniversary of our 2.5 years of dating and started a blissful newlywed life. Due to my husband's busy work schedule, we decided to have the wedding ceremony when things calmed down. On my husband's days off, we went to the wedding venue and started preparing for our wedding. We had the date of our ceremony fixed, and it was time to decide on our guests. I have an aunt and uncle who loved me like their real daughter in place of my deceased parents. After my father's death, they brought me lots of cooked meals since my mother was busy working all the time. They also kept me company when my mother was at work, so I wouldn't feel lonely. Moreover, when my mother fell sick, they shared all her chores so that I wouldn't have to carry the burden all by myself. Even when my mother's condition didn't improve and I was down, it's okay. Your mother is definitely going to get better, so Mary, you also believe and wait for her, okay? My aunt would encourage me gently. No matter how tough or painful things got, I was able to overcome them because I had my aunt and my uncle by my side. That's why I wanted them to sit in the seats designated for family on the bride's side. To convey this, I visited my aunt and uncle's house after a long time. Mary, congratulations on your marriage. My aunt greeted me with tears in her eyes. Thank you, Auntie. So I was thinking, I want you guys to sit in the seats designated for families at my wedding. Is that okay? Of course. Then my aunt brought out a big box. Mary, why don't you open it? Prompted by my aunt, I opened the box in front of me. Inside was a pure white wedding dress. The dress, made of beautiful silk fabric, had a good balance of elegance and cuteness. The décolletage was decorated with vibrant lace. The silhouette was cleverly designed to form a beautiful A-line, and cute flower embroideries were done on the hem. The size was smaller than usual, and it was clear that it was made just for me. I loved the wedding dress at first sight. Huh? Why this? Well, your mother, my sister, she made it. What? Mom did? That wedding dress was handmade by my mother. Despite battling illness, she tirelessly stitched it together day after day, custom fit for my petite frame. She asked my aunt, if Mary ever gets married, please give her this. This is a creation filled with all the love your mother could muster in her final days. Mary dear, you must wear this dress at your wedding. Your mother would be so pleased, said my aunt, her eyes brimming with tears and a tender smile on her face. Her heartfelt sentiment moved me to tears. Thank you, Auntie. You've kept it safe all this time. I promise I'll wear this dress at my wedding. You have to come and see me wear it, I said, clutching my mother's handcrafted wedding dress, full of happiness as I returned home. Once home, I hung the dress on my bedroom wall and gazed at it intently. I was determined to make my wedding a success wearing this dress in honor of my mother. That feeling only got stronger as the days passed. Then one day, a disaster struck. When I returned home from work, the wedding dress that should have been hanging on my wall was gone. What? It's gone? Why? I know I left it hanging right here. Panicking, I pulled out my phone to call the cops. Just then, my husband walked in the door. Oh, Mary, what's wrong? Seeing me in tears, he sensed something was amiss. He rushed over to me. My dress is gone. I had it hanging right here. I think someone stole it. My desperate plea elicited an unexpected reaction from my husband. Oh, is that all? Huh? What do you mean? Thomas, do you know something? I asked hesitantly, to which my husband responded with a shocking revelation. Of course I know. My sister said she's getting married soon and wanted to borrow your dress. Huh? Yes, my husband just went ahead and lent my wedding dress to his sister without even asking me. Apparently, when he casually mentioned the dress to her, she asked if she could borrow it, and he readily agreed. That's why she came over to pick it up. She used the spare key from our mailbox. He gave my dress to his sister without my permission. I can't believe this. What the hell? As I raged at my husband, he waved his hands dismissively as if it were no big deal. Our wedding is still a while away, so it's not a problem, right? Besides, my sister was thrilled. She's broke and was happy that she wouldn't have to pay for a dress. Happy that she wouldn't have to pay for a dress. I never gave permission for any of this. I was livid at my husband's blatant disregard for my feelings. That dress was handmade by my mother specifically for me. Didn't I tell you that, Thomas? It's tailored perfectly to my size. Why would you lend it out without asking me first? Calm down. It's not like it's a one-time use thing. You can still wear it, so what's the issue? What's the issue? It's obvious, isn't it? Why would your sister wear my dress before I do? No matter how you look at it, that's just wrong. Even after I explained why I was pissed, my husband refused to apologize or even acknowledge his mistake. To add insult to injury, he let out an exasperated sigh. Mary, you're being too petty. Stop acting like a spoiled child, okay? Spoiled? Being upset about this makes me spoiled? It's something my mother made for me, so it makes no sense for my sister-in-law to be wearing it before me. I'd reached my limits with his irresponsible comments that disregarded my feelings completely. I'm going to your parents' house tomorrow to get the wedding dress back from your sister. Huh? Tomorrow is the day my sister's fiancé and his parents are coming to visit our parents' house. Don't interrupt them. Interrupt? You got some nerve. Let me be clear. No matter what anyone says, I have no intention of letting your sister wear that dress. The next day, I took a day off of work to go see my sister-in-law. When I arrived at my in-laws' house, I could hear lively voices from the open front door as I secretly stepped in and listened. Wow, you made this dress yourself? That's amazing, Cynthia. A man's voice, whom I did not know, echoed in the house. Cynthia was my sister-in-law. Cynthia, who was praised, responded in a humble tone. Oh, it's nothing like that. She was flaunting my mother's handcrafted wedding dress to her fiancé and his parents. It took me quite some time, but I really wanted to bring my dream dress to life and have a good wedding, so I ended up making it myself. At that moment, something inside me crumbled with a sound. Her dream dress? What a joke. That's something my mother made with love, just for me. Before I even realized I was already walking towards them, I walked straight through the entrance and seized the wedding dress from my sister-in-law. Then I shouted, "This is mine!" in front of everyone. Everyone present looked at me with surprised expressions. Whoa, Mary, what's happening all of a sudden? My father-in-law asked me in a flustered manner. Ignoring him, I stared sternly at my sister-in-law and revealed the truth to everyone. This dress is something my mother made for me. Your daughter stole it from my room without my permission. What? Everyone present was taken aback, their eyes wide with shock, except for my sister-in-law, who turned pale. Hey, Cynthia, don't tell me that's true. As she was questioned by her fiancé, my sister-in-law desperately tried to resist. No, it's not like that. This is really something I made by myself. Realizing that the talk was going nowhere, I decided to question Cynthia. Why don't you try it on then? Since my mother made it to fit my size, I don't think it will fit you. Yes, my sister-in-law is taller and more toned than I am. There's no way she could pull off this dress, which was made to fit my petite frame. Hey, what are you doing? Finally, my husband appeared. My sister-in-law must have called him. His face was beet red with anger. Mary, what the heck are you doing? Are you trying to ruin my sister's wedding? What are you talking about? If anything, I'm the one who's about to have their wedding ruined, I retorted to my husband, and yet again, he started to blurt out something outrageous. Shut up. We canceled our wedding, so give that dress to my sister. Huh? Canceled? That's right. We canceled it. My husband insisted, pressing his point. My sister said she was strapped for cash, so we gave her the $50K we saved for our wedding as a gift. Since we aren't holding the wedding anymore, we don't need that dress, right? You let someone borrow my dress without asking, then canceled our wedding and also gave away the $50K we saved up. Are you out of your mind? So to him, our marriage was just something of that little importance. I could feel myself falling out of love with my husband. As I fell silent, my husband, misunderstanding that he'd won the argument, opened his mouth again. Now you give that dress back to my sister right away. You have no objections about the cancellation, do you? Fine. Let's get a divorce then. Huh? At my immediate reply, my husband let out a dumbfounded voice. Did you hear me? I said divorce. I don't want to be with someone like you who can trample on people's feelings without a second thought. Hey, wait a minute. Why do we have to get a divorce? That's ridiculous, isn't it? My husband started panicking, flustered. Any sane person would have seen this coming. He's just insane. Well, that settles it. As I tried to leave the place, holding the dress. Hold on a minute. My sister-in-law grabbed the end of the dress with all her might. The dress tore in the process, becoming a pitiful sight. Looking at it, my sister-in-law and husband burst out laughing as if they couldn't contain themselves. Serves you right. This is what happens when you mess with my sister. Yeah, really. If you just quietly lent me the dress, none of this would have happened. You brought this upon yourself, Mary. Tears welled up in my eyes, mixed with anger. My wedding being canceled was fine, but I wanted to keep this dress safe with me for my entire life. And now, because of these worthless people, just then, my sister-in-law's fiancé stood up and slowly muttered, "Guess we're done too." Huh? Everyone was taken aback. Wait, you're joking, right? You're calling off our engagement? Why? In response to my sister-in-law's plea, her fiancé glared at her with a fierce look. Why? It's obvious, isn't it? There's no way I could marry someone who can do nasty things like this with no hesitation. No way. Even his parents seemed to feel the same way, showing quiet anger towards my sister-in-law's actions. Well, no more talk of marriage then. My fiancé and his parents were about to leave. Just then, my sister-in-law burst in frantically, yelling, "Wait a minute. It's absurd to call off the engagement over something like this. Right, Mom and Dad? You guys think so too, don't you?" Despite her pleas to her parents, it was too late. Wait, Dad? Mom, why are you glaring at me? Her father then shouted at her with full force, "Get out, you disgrace." Even my usual strong-willed sister-in-law started sobbing due to this overwhelming force. "You guys are so cruel. This is too much." Stop crying. I don't remember raising a jackass like you. I'm not claiming you, someone who can be this dismissive of others' feelings, as our daughter. But, upon seeing his sister crumbling in tears, my husband stepped in to intervene. "Dad, Mom, calm down. You don't have to blame my sister this much. You too, Thomas." What? You're no better. How dare you disregard Mary's feelings? Leave this house with Cynthia, you foolish son. Probably never anticipating that he too would be disowned. My husband stood there, mouth agape. Then my mother-in-law came over to me, bowing her head in apology. "I'm so sorry, Mary. We were told that the dress was handmade by our daughter, and we just believed it. No, it's okay, but I can't continue living with Thomas anymore. That's okay, it's our daughter's fault. You go ahead and live your life without worrying about it." Her words really hit home. My in-laws had always been very kind to me, so I felt a pang of guilt that things have come down to this. But I couldn't stay with Thomas anymore. "Mary, I'm sorry, I really am. We'll have a proper wedding, just don't file for divorce yet." My husband quickly changed his tune the moment he was disowned by his parents. There was absolutely no chance of me getting back together with such a spineless man. "I will live my own life. I can live a happy life without you. Hearing this, my husband collapsed to his knees. After expressing my gratitude to my in-laws, I left their house. I packed my bags and headed to my aunt's house, where she was greatly surprised. However, in the end, she respected my feelings and welcomed me. As for that torn dress, my aunt mended the torn parts, and my mother's dress regained its shine. Afterward, I asked for alimony from my ex-husband, and we divorced. He had been secretly handing the wedding funds to my sister-in-law, so I was able to get a little more alimony. It seems that my husband and sister-in-law have been disowned by their parents, and now they are living together in the house we once shared. My sister-in-law, who had intended to become a housewife after marriage, had already quit her job and was now unemployed. Now my husband was single-handedly covering both of their living expenses. Next time, if I ever get another opportunity to marry someone, I want to make sure to thoroughly assess my partner, and then I will have a wonderful wedding. Of course, wearing my mother's handmade wedding dress.
We're getting a divorce. I don't need a wife who abandons her husband.
That's what my husband, Eldon, said to me after I gave birth at my parents' home. He even shoved pre-filled divorce papers in my face. Up until now, Eldon hadn't shown any concern for me during my pregnancy. In fact, he quit his job for selfish reasons and is now unemployed. I finally lost all love for Eldon. I don't need a husband like this, and it's bad for our child too. I coldly said, "Fine, I'll give you the divorce you want," and firmly decided to leave Eldon. My name is Gloriana Ambrosio. I'm a 30-year-old average woman working as an office employee. I have a husband the same age as me named Eldon, and we got married when we were 26. We became close quickly because we worked in the same department. Eldon was a very kind person and took his job seriously. He confessed his feelings to me, and since he was someone I felt comfortable with, we got married after a year of dating. His father, Caden, is a responsible person who runs his own business. Eldon always said,
My dad is strict and scary.
But Caden has been kind to me. We never had big fights, and our marital relationship was good. But then a major incident happened 8 months ago. I was called into the boss's office at work. Wondering what it was about, the boss told me something unexpected.
Actually, I've heard Eldon's work attitude is poor. Specifically, he doesn't meet deadlines and doesn't apologize for being late to client meetings. His boss is at a loss about what to do. Could you talk to him?
Shortly after Eldon and I got married, we were separated into separate departments. I was shocked. We had been in separate departments since we got married, and I had believed Eldon was working diligently. There was no sign of any change at home, and I started to worry that he might be under stress. I asked Eldon about it that evening. Then he promised me,
No, I'm not getting along well with my boss. I'll talk to him and resolve it, and I'll change my attitude.
But a week later, he came home and said,
I quit my job. I can't work under that boss anymore.
I checked with his boss, and it was true.
Eldon's work attitude has worsened since joining this department. He doesn't reflect on his actions and only makes excuses. That led to an argument, and he quit.
For the record, Eldon's boss is well-liked and respected in the company. It was natural to think the problem was with Eldon. Still, he seemed to regret quitting.
I'm sorry for the trouble. I'll find another job soon,
he said. I thought things would be okay, but that was wishful thinking. A month passed and Eldon only complained.
No company wants me.
Without seriously job hunting. He graduated from a prestigious university and has work experience. There should be at least one company willing to hire him. When I asked what kind of company he wanted, he said,
One without a nagging boss, where I can make at least $5,000 a month. I went to a prestigious university. I should be picky.
My thought was, you're being way too picky. I just wanted him to work like a normal person. But Eldon continued to avoid work, becoming fully unemployed. I was puzzled by Eldon's change of character, but one day I came home from work to hear Eldon talking on the phone.
Since Gloriana is working, I don't have to. I'll just sweet-talk her into supporting me. I never thought pretending to be serious would work this well.
At that moment, I realized I'd fallen for a complete fraud. The real Eldon was just a slacker who had been playing the role of a nice guy. When he noticed me, he tried to brush it off, saying,
I was joking. I'll look for a job.
But I wasn't fooled. Enough is enough. You better start working. I yelled, insisting he find a job, any job. Part of my anger came from concern for our future, but there was another, more pressing reason. I was pregnant. I found out I was expecting around the same time Eldon quit his job. Raising a child costs money, so I wanted Eldon to find stable employment. But as I mentioned, Eldon remained jobless and didn't care much for my pregnant condition. I was struggling with morning sickness and other issues, making household chores difficult. Yet Eldon lay on the sofa eating potato chips, even saying,
Pregnancy isn't an illness. Deal with it.
I had hoped he'd change as he became more aware of his impending fatherhood, but his attitude remained the same. In fact, it worsened. Just yesterday, he got furious when I used canned food to save time on cooking.
You should feed your husband proper meals. That's a wife's duty.
He lectured. I was furious. We had a heated argument, and not once did he mention concern for our child. I'm seriously worried about our future together. Some might say, why not just divorce him? But if I do, our child will be born into a fatherless home. I'm emotionally unstable, especially with my first pregnancy, and the due date is approaching. I've decided to put off any serious discussions until after the birth. Given Eldon's unreliability, I chose to give birth at my parents' home. My parents agreed it was the best option, but even then, Eldon complained.
What am I supposed to do without you? Who's going to do the chores?
I was so fed up with Eldon that I angrily told him, You're an adult, figure it out yourself, and went to my parents' home. I later gave birth to a healthy baby. When I felt better, I went back to Eldon for the first time in a while. When I returned to Eldon's place after about 2 months, the house was a mess. Trash was scattered everywhere, and a pile of clothes lay next to the washing machine. As I stood there, stunned, Eldon appeared with bed hair.
Finally, you're back. There's something I want to talk about.
Eldon pulled out a document with a malicious grin. It was a pre-filled divorce application.
I'm divorcing you. I don't need a wife who abandons her husband.
Hearing this, my love for Eldon completely evaporated. I thought, I don't need a husband like this, and he's a bad influence on our child. I coldly said, fine, you'll get your divorce, and was determined to leave him. Still, Eldon remained defiant.
You'll regret it if you divorce me. Now, fill in your part.
I snatched the divorce papers from him and filled them out immediately. I decided to take them straight to the courthouse. Goodbye then. I'll come back for my stuff later. Don't throw anything away. I left the house and went directly to the courthouse. The divorce was finalized, and Eldon and I became strangers. I returned to my parents' home and decided to raise my child with them. I didn't want to stay in a house filled with bad memories, and raising a child alone was daunting. My parents are trustworthy, and it's comforting to have them around. Life became a daily joy, watching my child grow while navigating the challenges of new motherhood. However, a month after the divorce, Eldon suddenly called my parents' landline. I had blocked his number on my cell, but I'd forgotten to block the landline.
Hey, when are you coming back? I'm struggling here.
Confused, I retorted, What? We're strangers now. I'm never coming back. Hearing this, Eldon started to panic.
Wait, you actually filed the divorce papers?
Yes, you wanted a divorce, didn't you? I've been over you for a while now, so I submitted them a month ago. Upon hearing my blunt response, Eldon became furious.
Why did you file them? I was just trying to scare you into coming back and taking care of me.
I was utterly disgusted by his twisted logic. Whether you are serious or not, I have no intention of reconciling with you. You've been useless ever since I got pregnant. Who would want to be a family with a man like that?
I get it. I'm sorry. I've reflected on my actions. Please come back. I'm really struggling financially.
He was pretending to be remorseful now. We settled our property when we divorced. And like I said before, you're an adult. Figure it out. I yelled and hung up the phone. I immediately blocked his number to prevent further calls. I thought that was the end. But a month later, on a peaceful Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. It was Eldon. Not wanting any more to do with him, my parents and I tried to pretend we weren't home, but Eldon persistently banged on the front door.
Hey, I know you're in there. Come out.
Not wanting to disturb the neighbors, I reluctantly went to answer the door. There stood Eldon, skinny and unshaven. I hadn't seen Eldon in 2 months, and I was shocked to see he looked like a drifter. Without asking, he walked into the house and sat arrogantly on the sofa.
Gloriana, I need money. Just $1,000. I'm really struggling here.
So why don't you get a job? You have a degree from a prestigious university, and you're not too old to work. Annoyed, I said this, and Eldon began to explain.
Actually, I've decided to make money through investment. Working a regular job is for fools. I found a trustworthy advisor online, so I'm good. I'm still in the red because I just started, but I'm told it'll turn profitable. But I'm running out of the money I got from our property division, so I need your help.
I was sure it was a scam. My mom, looking disgusted, returned to taking care of the baby. My dad also looked like he thought it was a scam. But Eldon, oblivious, kept insisting on money.
I'll pay you back when my investments pay off and you can live the high life.
I reached my breaking point with his incessant and nonsensical demands. If you don't stop, I'm calling the police. I was genuinely angry, and with my dad, we kicked Eldon out. The mention of the police kept him away for a while, but we never knew when he might show up again. We considered moving, but with a baby, it seems ridiculous to insure moving costs just because of him. So my parents and I devised a plan for the next time Eldon showed up. Another month passed, and unfortunately, Eldon returned. Seeing him, my mom immediately made a phone call as planned. My dad and I let Eldon in and humored him for a while. His goal was still money.
I'm in trouble. I can't reach my investment advisor anymore. I poured in over $10,000, and it was a scam. I have nothing left. You're the only one I can rely on.
It was incomprehensible why he thought he could rely on me after all he'd done. But we couldn't just send him away. He might come back. So my dad and I listened to Eldon's complaints to buy time. We were waiting for reinforcements. When Eldon paused, I smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, I'll help you find a new job and a place to live. Eldon's face lit up, not knowing any better.
Really?
Yes, really. Just then, the doorbell rang. I checked and let the visitor in. It was the person my mom had called. Seeing the man's face, Eldon froze.
Dad!
My mom had called Eldon's father, Caden. Actually, my parents and I had been consulting with Caden about our Eldon problem. After hearing the whole story, Caden said,
I apologize for the trouble my foolish son has caused you. If he bothers you again, please contact me. I'll come to pick him up immediately.
So we decided to call Caden the next time Eldon showed up. Eldon was intimidated by his father, so we hoped this would have some effect. And it did. Eldon was furious.
Why did you consult my dad? This is a family issue. I'm not a child. I don't need to rely on my parents.
But his face was pale. Caden, on the other hand, seemed to explode with anger at Eldon's words.
What kind of attitude is that after causing so much trouble? You've done something so terrible that even your parents have to intervene. What are you doing at 30?
Eldon was silenced and was taken away by Caden. After that, Eldon started working as a general helper at Caden's company. He's being strictly trained in manners and how to be a decent human being. Moreover, his direct boss is quite strict, and if Eldon slacks off even a bit, he gets scolded. Life must be hellish for Eldon, and his salary is lower than when he was a regular employee. With debts to pay, he's not left with much. It's a far cry from his dream of making $5,000 a month without a nagging boss, and it must be tough. But he brought this upon himself, so I want him to suffer. As for me, I'm busy raising my child. My child is growing up healthy and strong. Life is tough, but my parents are supportive, and there are many experienced parents at my workplace, which is a big help. Recently, I went to the aquarium with my child and parents. My child was fascinated by the dolphins he saw for the first time and seemed to enjoy it. I want to give my child various experiences and want him to learn many things. I intend to do my best as a parent.